Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Lay. I'm the Managing Director and CEO for arcTIS. Thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce arcTIS for your consideration. arcTIS is a Australian defence sovereign company and has been working with the Australian Department of Defence for a number of years. What we do is, in the name arcTIS, is architected trusted information sharing. We solve challenges for how to share sensitive and classified information between government to government to industry, industry to industry, where intellectual property or classified information needs to be protected, but also needs to be utilized across multiple parties. Why do we do that? Well, it's trust, not technology, that is the greatest obstacle. Sharing information and classified information requires higher levels of security than commercial information, so it's a very specialized area. We empower information owners to do that by protecting their own data, whether that's within their organization or outside of their organization. And what we do is develop products that are zero trust, meaning validate everything, and apply those access controls and privilege managements to the data object itself rather than at the application network or infrastructure layer. This becomes really important when you're dealing with allies and you're dealing with communications that are complex, that might need to be segregated or based upon nationality, security clearances, briefings, different roles in the organization. Now, these applications can be applied to commercial use cases, but right now we're very highly focused in the defence market because that's what's driving the demand for these type of technologies and are under the most threat from the wave of cyber attacks. The Australian Department of Defence is our inaugural client. We've been dealing with them for a number of years, and we've sold a number of our products into the Australian Department of Defence. In fact, we've generated over $20 million in revenue out of the Australian Department of Defence, and we expect that to grow in the coming years. With their referenceability, that's enabled us to take an approach for commercialization of expanding into overseas markets, and we've started to have some success in that, which is really important. So we use the Australian Department of Defence, which has out of a global defence expenditure of $2.7 trillion, the Australian Department of Defence only spends 1.4% of that. An example of someone who spends a lot more than that is the US, which spends up to 38% of that $2.7 trillion expenditure. And of course, that money all circulates through what we call the defence industrial base. So those supply chain, which services those defence organisations. And so it's really important for us as an Australian company to get that global expansion to, for our products, which are in high demand, and be enabled to grow, to access that level of growth that you would expect from an ASX company. Where has that led us? Well, recently, back in July, we announced 2 deals in the global market, which demonstrated that, 1, we're executing that really well, and 2, the potential of the sizes of those markets. One was with our prime contractor for the US Department of Defense for 1,000 licenses of one of our products. That 1,000 licenses was to the value of $38,500. And we've provided that organisation initial pricing for the next phase for up to 150,000 users. That agency has up to 450,000 users available in that agency, but services over 1 million users across the US DoD. So that's the sort of network growth effect that we can accelerate into the business over the next few years that is available when we expand successfully overseas and into these markets. Another example of that to diversify our revenue is the adjacent market there of the defence industrial base who need to share. And this is happening across supply chains that are servicing AUKUS, Five Eyes, etc., which you've seen recently announced in the news. An example of that is the $12 billion upgrade, initial payment for the upgrade of the Henderson base in Western Australia, and the total cost of that will be over $20 billion, which is just one program of work that we're seeing in the defence industrial supply chain. Their need to share information is just as strong. And of course, we've just won a deal with a defence prime in the UK. That's a 3-year NC Protect deal, $260,000 for the initial 400 users. That organisation has a global presence and has the capacity of expanding those licenses up to 100,000 users. And you're starting to see, again, the network growth and the multiplier effect. Finally, one of our other products, Cogency, is already the #1 sharing information for defence in the supply chain in the Australian Defence Industrial Base, and has many blue ribbon clients there. SAP is one of our clients, Boeing, The Australian Naval Infrastructure is another client, etc. We previously had Thales on there, Northrop Grumman, BAEs, for example. So we're being very successful in Australia. We're looking to expand that business model overseas. And we've just announced the completion of an acquisition in the US to make sure that we can pivot and take advantage of the growth opportunities in the US. The company that we just acquired was called Spherion, and I guess the synergies of that acquisition, there are numerous. The first one is technology. They provide discovery and classification technologies for data-centric security. What arcTIS has previously done is provide enforcement and governance tools. So by combining the two companies together, we suddenly have a suite of products that can go across the whole data-centric security lifecycle. That includes discover, classify, enforce, and govern. That gives us a competitive advantage in the market. The second reason that it's a really good acquisition is that, of course, they are already immersed in data-centric securities and have data-centric clients that are investing in the data-centric security journey. They have over 180 customers that are already investing in this journey, but haven't been able to provide them solutions for enforcement and governance to complete that journey. That enables us to have cross-sell opportunities into commercial customers, which diversifies our revenue base, but also gives us experience in that commercial clients to expand the opportunities that we're seeing across the digitization of manufacturing, for an example, biomedical products, etc. So that's a very exciting acquisition. And the last, of course, is it gives us presence in a geographical location, which is the world's largest market, and that being the US. It provides us a base of 40 people and developers, sales team, marketing, that can focus the company for high growth in that defense market, intelligence, state departments, law enforcement agencies, banks, commercials, education as well. So this is a real pivot for the company. It's a transformational deal. We have raised the funds, we've completed the transaction, and now we're commencing the integration work to make sure that we can grow the company. And of course, what's also so exciting about that is it comes with revenue of 17 million Australian dollars in annual revenue, recurring revenue. So what that means for us is we're moved into from a $4.8 million revenue off the back of the arcTIS. We've combined that with the 17, and now we have a pro forma forecast for FY25 of 21.8 million. That's significant growth. It's significant in terms of our presence. It's significant for our customers, and now we have a global presence and we can do support globally, but also we can access all of those global markets. And that means that repeatable processes, we're going to continue to keep our eye on cost, but most importantly, with this acquisition, we can target the market that we need to, which drives all other defense spending and the direction of what technologies get adopted by allies, and that is the US defense market. So that's very exciting for us. Comes with, as I said, those blue chip clients, comes with us and being able to provide an end-to-end solution in terms of the products, and it gives us a launching pad into new markets that we haven't had access to before. So very exciting times for arcTIS. It's an Australian story which is now acquiring companies in the US. And that's on the back of the companies that we acquired in Germany for the directive product in February this year. And you can see that we're very serious about executing our growth and targeting our market and increasing our revenues to give the best return for shareholders that we can. But I think it's going to be a very exciting story over the next 2 years for arcTIS. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please reach out to us if you need any further information. And thank you very much for your time and considering arcTIS.